There are two things firefighters dislike: the way things are, and change.
Sometimes traditional ways clash with the need for change.
That's where we come in.
Slicing through the noise with insights that matter.
Welcome to Igniting the Shift Within.
Your launch pad to revolutionize the way you think and work and lead.
Welcome to this edition of Igniting the Shift Within. I'm David Dashinger. Today we're speaking with retired Lieutenant Billy Kanych from the Yonkers, New York Fire Department. Join us as Billy recounts the harrowing events of October 1st, 2009, a day that reshaped his life, and that was after responding to a devastating fire in a multifamily occupancy. Tragically, that day resulted in the line-of-duty death of firefighter Patrick Joyce, as well as severe injuries to Billy and his team. So we're going to talk about that and Billy's journey through physical and emotional recovery in the wake of that incident, and look at how he was involved with implementing a new bailout system that emerged to kind of improve firefighter safety. We're going to talk about the crucial role of firefighter training and explore how spirituality also helps in coping with trauma. So this should be a great conversation. Stick around. We're going to do a brief bio on Billy. He's a dedicated fire service professional with 25 years experience in the Yonkers, New York Fire Department, having retired in 2022. He spent nearly a decade as an academy instructor at the Yonkers Fire Academy, where he shaped the next generation of firefighters. He also contributed 8 years as an instructor at the Westchester County Fire Academy, and he further showcased his commitment to fire safety and education. And today, Billy remains committed to training firefighters, especially the next generation of firefighters, as he shares his message as a speaker and instructor. LT, welcome to Igniting the Shift Within.
Thanks, David. I appreciate this opportunity to be here. I want to thank you for utilizing this forum, continually bringing awareness to different aspects of the job. So thank you for continually giving back. Thank you.
Well, likewise, I know you're doing a lot to pay it forward. I had the opportunity to hear you speak a couple of weeks ago in Florida, and you were speaking in front of a group of brand new fresh recruits.
Yeah.
And I thought the timing was perfect for them to hear your story and your message. So we'll definitely get into that. Before we do, just give us a little background. What got you into the fire service? Like, was that something you always wanted to do, or was it one of those things that just kind of happened?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I always wanted to be a police officer. I know, don't shoot me. I joined the military, United States Air Force. I did 4 years in the Air Force, and that really brought my commitment to service and camaraderie, family, orientation, and team. Mm-hmm. And then I just thought to myself, how do I take this and bring it into the civilian life? Like, what does that look like? And it looked like police or fire. I came out of the military, and I went to the New York State Police Academy for a week. I hated it. I quit. And then I was blessed in 1997 to swear into the Yonkers Fire Department. I believe that's where God put me, and I never looked back.
Yeah, sometimes life has this way of
yes,
taking you in a direction you never thought was going to be possible. But it's great you wound up there. Clearly, you've been a leader in that department as well as an instructor. But take us through what happened October 1st, 2009. Kind of set up the incident, and also obviously tell us what went down as far as your response, your participation in it, and then the aftermath of it.
Yeah. So, David, I'm a picture guy. I like to, if I hear something, or if I'm reading something, or if I'm training, I'm a picture. I like to paint a picture, and so that's what I want to do for you today. I'm going to paint a picture, and that picture starts on October 1st. 2009. It was a beautiful fall night. I was working a night tour in Yonkers on Rescue 1. Our night tours are 14-hour night tours, 10-hour day tours. So I was coming in. We start at 6 p.m. I was taught from early on, starting, if you get there on time, you're late. So we always get there early. So I got there around 5 o'clock. We started at 6, sat at the kitchen table, having coffee, enjoying my time. And on the rescue, we ride 4 guys. So on that night, it was Captain Dave Roberts, firefighter Nikki Arden, firefighter Patrick Joyce, and myself. We talked amongst each other, decided I was going to be driving that night. And the cap came into the kitchen. He asked who was driving. I said I was. He said, well, actually, today we're swearing in a group of probies. We're going to take the rig down to the library where the swearing in was. We were going to put the light mask up. which never worked. And we were going to shine it on the American flag, right? So just go outside, see if it works, make sure, everything's getting taken care of. So I brought the rig out. It actually worked that day. So we put the light mast up. Everything was working. We dropped it. We got ready. At shift change at 6 p.m., we did our turnover. The night crew got on the rig. We went down to the library for the swearing in. We went down. It was your normal swearing in. And at the end, the mayor thanked the wives, the friends, the families of the probies for allowing them to be Yonkers firemen. It's a dangerous job. You never know if you make it home from your tour. 5 short hours later, those words would ring true. So after the ceremony, we went outside. People took pictures. We ended up going back to the firehouse. We made dinner. After dinner, we hung around the kitchen table. We solved the world's problems as we always do. Started getting late. I went upstairs. I read a book on Joshua. We were doing a growth group, like a Sunday school. I read that. I turned the TV on. I started watching a movie. I fell asleep. At 1:08 a.m., the tones went off for structure fire 2 blocks away, 149 Beverly Street. Coming out of the barn, we heard multiple calls for a good dispatcher. We pull out of the barn. I make a left, and it's basically right up the road. I'm going to make a right. Cap says to me, pull up, make a right on Waverly Street. I said, Cap, you sure? It's a tight street. And the rescue, it's basically the roving toolbox. It doesn't carry any hose or ladders. It just gets in the way. So Cap said, nope, make the right. There's an old school building that they made into an apartment building. We're going to ditch it right to the driveway. Beautiful. Start going down the block. There's the driveway. I ditch it. Beautiful. In Yonkers, the rescue, we break up into alpha teams. So rescue and rescue alpha. Rescue is the officer and the guy sitting behind him. So it was Captain Dave Roberts, firefighter Nick Yarden. They were a team. And then with myself, I was driving, and Patrick Joyce, who was sitting behind me. We got out of the rig, we grabbed our tools, and now we have to walk down the block to get to the fire building. The fire building was on the other end of the block. Making our way down, we did what we do. The rescue team usually goes in the front door. Forcible entry, search and rescue from the front, so they're going in with the line. Mm-hmm. The alpha team, our job is to make access any way other than the front door. So Pat and I made our way down exposure 4, the right side of the building, going down that alleyway. On the 4-3 corner, there was an old a door to an access on the 4 side, on the 3-4 corner. So Pat and I make our way in. We start making our way up to the 3rd floor. When we first arrived on scene and got to the front of the building, the chief told Pat and I there's a report of people trapped on the top floor. It's a 3-story wood frame multifamily house. Make your way up to the top, see what's going on. So Pat and I entered. We start making our way up. Civilians were coming down. We met them probably around the 1st floor. There was a language barrier. Couldn't understand what they were saying, so we moved out of the way. We let them down. We continued our way up. We got to the top. We masked up. We forced the door. We entered. We are now, so when we pulled up, there was fire showing on the 1-2 corner on the 1st floor. When we make our way down and we get to the 3-4 corner, on the top floor, on the opposite side of the building, on 2 floors above, there should be no fire. There should be no smoke. When we forced that door and entered, that's what we encountered. There was no fire. There was no smoke. That's the progression that we should be seeing. So we're okay with this right now. Pat and I start our primary search from the rear of the building. We're going to work our way to the front. The room that we entered off that old, and we'll say this porch that we entered from, to our right, there was an old enclosed porch that they made now a bedroom. I remember clear as day saying to Pat, I'm going to check this room real quick. I checked the room. There was nobody there. Now we're going to make our way to the front of the building, exposure 1. We're basically walking parallel, looking left, looking right, primary search. Everything's nice and quick. There's no smoke. Everything's going smooth. We get to the front. When we got to the very front of the building, exposure 1, we knew we're on the top floor. We're going to open this door, check the landing, make sure nobody's there. All the heat and smoke should have come up, been built up there. Open the door. All the heat and smoke are there. There's nobody in the landing. We shut the door. So now there's just a slight haze from us opening the door. Progression is going. Now we turn around and we're going to head back the way we came in to that stairwell we came up. On the way, we hear 306 to battalion, fire, knockdown, checking for extension. Again, in my head, the progression that we should be hearing, everything's good. Top floor, opposite side of the building, no heat, smoke. It was all trapped up in the stairwell. Everything's good. They have water on the fire. We're going to be out of here soon. We make our way back to the room that has the stairwell in it. I remember clear as day saying to Pat, I'm just going to look one more time to my right. I just want to check this room one more time to make sure nobody's in there before we head down the stairway. I went in that room. I looked left. I looked right. And it's as if somebody threw a blanket over my head. When I turned around, there was lights out and there was heat in the room, intense heat. This should not be happening. I've never experienced anything like this before. I immediately dropped to my knees. In my head now, I'm saying, I need to get out of this room. If I crawl dead straight, I'll start going towards exposure 1. When we get out of this room, I'll shut the door behind us. We'll contain ourselves, figure out what's going on, and figure out a way out. As I crawl across the room, I go through the opening and boom, I hit a wall. This wall shouldn't be here. I should be crawling towards exposure 1. I crawled into a closet. I get into this closet. Now I'm panicking. Now the heat is so intense, the skin's burning off my ears. I realize I'm in a closet. I make my way out of this closet, and there's a third voice in the room now. Initially, it was Pat and myself. Now there's a third voice in the room screaming, go, go, we got to go. Turns out that was Lieutenant Murray from Ladder 74. There's 3 of us trapped in this room. I come out of this closet, and there's a window with an air conditioner in it. I had a Halligan in my hand. I just started swinging. I took out the air conditioner. Back in the day, they taught you a Z in a box to clear out the glass. There was no clearing out this glass. I just wanted to jump out the window because I'm burning at this point. I had an exit, which was this window 3 stories up. I was breaking the window and I was going out. I took the air conditioner out, smashed what I could, put the Halligan down, went to jump out the window, but Pat jumped at the same time I did, and we were stuck in this window. Lieutenant Murray's behind us screaming, go, go, you got to go. So at this point, I back into the window, I guess thinking, well, Pat will get out and then I'll jump at this point. But at that point now, Lieutenant Murray jumps in the window. Now they were stuck. And now I'm behind them screaming, go, go, we got to go. So at this point, the heat was so intense. My head was on fire. I just dove for the window. It turns out, as I was diving for the window, they made their way out. When I went out head first out the window, my left arm caught the windowsill. It spun me around. I landed on my feet on this makeshift shed that was made out of cement. I landed on this makeshift shed. I remember turning, and there was a window right in front of me in the building. I turned to my left, and Pat was laying there staring at me. And I couldn't move because my right foot was stuck. There was all debris on top of this makeshift shed, and my right foot got stuck in this door. And I remember I got to get over to Pat. So I got my foot out of this door. I crawled over to Pat. I held him in my arms, and I radioed for help. I kept telling Pat, it's okay, help's on the way, it's okay, help's on the way. But I didn't know if Pat was already dead. So at this point, the firefighter, Rune Ardledge, was a captain of safety at the time. He was down the alleyway. He saw what happened. He immediately had a ladder brought to the rear, put up to this makeshift shed. It turns out Lieutenant Murray ended up bouncing off the shed. He was already on the ground, another 8 feet down. They put a ladder up to this makeshift shed. They got Pat down. I got down. At this point now, I must have went to shock because I don't remember much that happened after this. But what they told me is I started walking down the alleyway. I got to the front of the building, and I made a left, and I just started walking back towards the firehouse. They said it was as if you took a kitchen match and lit it and blew it out. I was just a stick figure with a black head with smoke coming off it. They threw me up against a car, and I just kept saying, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. That's all I kept repeating. I don't remember this. This is what they told me. They took me. They did a rapid takedown, which they did in the past. They took saline. They started pouring it all over my head to stop the burning process. They put me on a longboard, put me in an ambulance. They took me to Jacoby Medical Center in the Bronx. We learned later that morning that Pat died on impact, the first line of duty death in Yonkers in 25 years. Lieutenant Murray broke all his ribs, punctured his lung, had 3rd-degree burns on both hands. I broke my back. I broke my foot in 2 places. I had 3rd-degree burns on my forehead, my ears, the back of my neck. I basically fried my head. We also learned that the fire was intentionally set. Within 24 hours, the Yonkers Police Department had a man in custody, Raphael Rodan, in charge of arson and the death of firefighter Patrick Joyce. When taken to Jacoby, it was there I was treated for my burns. I underwent a back operation. I spent about a week in the ICU. When taken home, I can only get around my house by use of a wheelchair. They put a hospital bed in my dining room. That's where I slept. I cried myself to sleep every night. Firefighters came to my house. We worked 10-hour day tours, 14-hour night tours. 24/7, there were firemen in my house at all times. They did 10-hour day tours, 14-hour night tours in my house. They came in, they had a logbook, they logged everything. They physically took care of me, emotionally, and my family. I want to talk more a little bit about the healing process but before I get to that. A lot of questions that come up is, why did this happen? How did things go so bad so fast? What happened was, I told you this fire was intentionally set by Raphael Rodin. It was a 3-story wood frame. Raphael Rodin lived on the first floor with other tenants. He stopped paying his rent. The tenants weren't happy about it, so they evicted him. They told him, come get your clothes, you're out of here. Well, on that night, he went there around 11 o'clock to get his clothes. He went there on October 1st. They took his clothes. There was nobody home. They took his clothes. They threw him in a pile. He apparently went inside. He wasn't happy about that. So he started a fire in the front of the house, and he went and started a fire in the back of the house. Well, that fire in front of the house, it grew enough that it shattered the window, and it started venting out the 1-2 corner on the first floor. The fire he started in the back smothered itself. It didn't break any windows. So now it was just sitting there looking for oxygen. When we pulled up, the chief told us as the rescue, enter, get to the 3rd floor. There's a reported people trapped. So that's where we headed. When ladder 7-4 pulled up, the chief told Lieutenant Murray, the rescue is upstairs. Why don't you go see if they need any help up there? Mm-hmm. Lieutenant Murray came down that same alleyway with the firefighter, entered the same door on the 4 side, started making his way up. When he got to the 1st floor, he told his firefighter, do me a favor, stop here, make entry from the rear, see what's going on. I'm going to continue my way up. Mm-hmm. When that firefighter popped that door in the back, he fed oxygen to that fire that was in the back. It blew that firefighter down the stairs and basically used the stairway as a chimney and blue torch. And it just came up, blew Lieutenant Murray into the room with us, blew the door open. And that's how Lieutenant Murray ended up in that room with us. That's how all the heat and smoke came. When I took that window and I broke it, I wasn't venting that room. I was taking it to go. And once I broke that window, it just blow torched out that window, and it was just incinerating us as it was waiting for us to go out the window. So that's how things went so bad so fast. The fire started in the 1-2 corner, but it was also in the 3-4 corner on the 1st floor until it was fed oxygen, and that's how it caught us.
Well, LT, thank you for shaping that, painting that picture for us, because it's vivid, and just feel incredible grief for your loss, your department's loss, your teammates' loss, and all of that you and your crew went through. And I definitely love to hear more about the healing process on a physical level and also on an emotional level. Take us through the next part of this, like as you were, coming out of shock and, coming to the realization of what had happened and your state, you're, kind of taking stock of where what your body had experienced.
Yeah. So the rehab process, right? The healing process, it's 2 stages, right? It's physical, and it's mental. Mm-hmm. And there's many parts to that. The one thing I will say for me, the foundation of my process was my faith in Jesus Christ. That was the foundation. And then looking back, and I'll talk about the president at the time, but, looking back, I could see how God had his hand in every part, everything from the incident to the hospital, to my recovery, to getting back on the job. And then the next, 12 years on the job. But initially, in the hospital, I had a broken back, my L4 vertebrae shattered. Just so happened, again, I feel this was God. It just so happened the doctor that was there at the time, he was actually heading home. They stopped him from leaving. He was an innovator of a new surgery. He, instead of fusing my spine, I shattered my L4 vertebrae. He connected my L3 and my L5 via 4 titanium rods, 4 titanium screws, 2 titanium rods. Basically, the thought process is you're taking the weight off of L4. You're putting the weight on L3 and L5, so it's like having crutches. Mm-hmm. It takes the weight off of that vertebrae, and that vertebrae now will solidify, heal itself, if you will. And then in time, hopefully, if you take those screws out and the rods out, that will actually be stronger than the rest of the bones. And it turned out a couple months later, he went in, did another surgery, took those rods out, and thank you, Lord, my back is fine. So believe it or not, my back is just as strong now as it was before the incident. I broke my right foot in 2 places. There were bones that were shattered in there. That doctor also felt that it was probably better for me not to have a surgery to see what would happen with those bones that were shattered in my foot. They left them in there. It was a long recovery for me to start walking and running again, but Again, my right foot, they never did anything but cast it, and my right foot's as if nothing happened. A little bit of mobility, maybe, but I mean, I could run, I could walk. That's not an issue. And my burns. So initially, they thought they were going to have to graft around my ears. My ears were pinned to the back of my head. Every day, a doctor would come in with basically an X-Acto knife and separate my ears from my head, and just separating the skin and letting more skin grow, then cutting it, and just day after day. And it got to the point where he said, you know what? I can't explain it, but it's starting to heal. We're not going to graft you. And I never had to get any grafts. So again, as far as the physical process of being in the hospital, that's what I went through. Now I'm home. So a week goes by. Now I'm at my house. And this is where I feel, so God used multiple forms, right? He used this Holy Spirit to physically touch my mind. He used people. He used my family, and then my fire department family, the brotherhood, to put people in my life to heal me. So first and foremost, I'll tell you, and I don't want to use names today because I'll forget. There were so many people that were integral in this, but I know I'll forget names. So I'm not going to mention any names. But one thing I will tell you, there were a lot of people that were there for a lot of the time. But the one person that was there every day was my wife. And I tell you, she was my encourager. She was my foundation there. And she was there every day. And I can tell you that I was probably a handful. I was on some medication for a little while. I was going through a lot. The mental process, crying every night. She put up with a lot. So, I mean, that was a blessing to have her. And then the brotherhood. I told you, 10-hour day tours, 14-hour night tours. They put up a calendar in the firehouse and they signed up. These men took time away from their family and their kids to come to my house to help clean me, help me. You know, they would, I couldn't get upstairs. They would literally carry me upstairs. They put a shower chair in my shower. My wife would come in, help shower me down. The guys would come in after that and repack my ears with all this medication, carry me back downstairs. Now, I come from an Italian family. Our love language is food. The men, every day, they would cook. They would show up in droves, 5, 6 guys at a time, bringing lunch. We would sit there. We'd break bread together. They didn't try and fix me. They didn't try and heal my mind. They just let me say whatever I had to say, cry when I had to cry. We just sat there. We broke bread. And they helped me physically and emotionally. I told you they put a bed, a hospital bed in my dining room. They took the dining room, the table out, they put a bed in there. They took the chair from my living room, they put it right next to it. Every night when I would go to sleep, there would be a fireman sitting there. I would just cry. They would just sit there and cry with me. And then they would get up, and they would go inside, and then they would just put themselves to sleep. And there's not a word thank you is not a strong enough word for me to use for the men that came to my house and took care of me. How do you repay that back? You know, we talk about a brotherhood, and I was part of a brotherhood, obviously, prior to this, right? For 13 years. And I would help people, but I never felt like I was doing anything until you need the help, until you can't do for yourself and people are at your house. So I have 2 children, and they were 4 and 6 at the time. And when I first went home, they lived in my in-laws' house because my head was pretty burnt, and we didn't want my kids to see me that way. And when they finally came home, I was still in a wheelchair. I couldn't play with them. They would wheel me out on my deck. I would sit there in a wheelchair, and they would play with my kids in the backyard. I mean, to look down and know that I can't play with my own kids, and they were there playing with them for me, how do you repay something like that? You know, God put people in my life. I don't even know what the word to say. I can't say thank you. Thank you is not enough. So that's why, to me, I had men pour into my life, and that's why, as long as I have breath, I'm going to give back to this job. And as long as I have breath, I'm going to give God the glory.
It's so well put. And I don't think you can underestimate the power of someone just being there with you while you're going through something like that. A lot of times people want to do something, right? They want to bring food. They want to, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? But I've learned from my own personal challenges, just someone sitting there with you, that's there just to be with you, is the most healing, supportive thing that anyone can do.
Right. So just to backtrack a little bit. So I told you they arrested a guy, Raphael Rodan.
Yep.
This is another area. So Raphael Rodan, he was arrested. They had him on arson. They offered him a plea deal. He wouldn't take a plea deal because it had a murder charge in it. So it ended up taking 15 months for this to go to trial. And for 15 months during my recovery, and I'll get back to me getting back to work, but during my recovery for 15 months, every day, I was crying all the time. And my prayer was, Lord, let him take this plea deal, because for me to try and take a stand and talk about this, it's hard for me to talk about it now. When it first happened, I would just burst out in tears. And my prayer was, Lord, something has to happen. You have to allow him to take this. I can't take the stand. Well, 15 months went by, 15 months of me making that same prayer every day. 15 months went by, he was taking a stand. So I changed my prayer. So in January of 2011, it was a Thursday. The trial was starting. I was supposed to testify on Friday. The trial starts on Thursday. People talk on the stand. Friday comes. On Friday morning, my prayer changed. I said, Lord, obviously, I'm going to have to testify. I'm going to need your strength. You need to surround me with your Holy Spirit so I can get on that stand and I can put two sentences together. So I was supposed to testify at 11 o'clock. I show up to the DA's office at 9. He says, Billy, you wait here for a couple hours, then we're going to bring you downstairs. From the DA's office, they brought me downstairs. At the time, they were taking a recess. So everybody's in the hallway for recess. And to use like a baseball analogy, again, to paint this picture, is a pitcher is pitching a no-hitter in the 8th inning. If you look in the dugout, he's off to the side. Nobody's talking to him. Well, I was sitting off to the side, and the guys didn't talk to me. They just left me alone. The recess finishes. Everybody goes back in the courtroom. The DA says what's going to happen is the doors will shut. The bailiff's going to open them, come and get you and bring you down. No problem. Lord, my prayer is I need your strength. Everybody goes inside. They close the doors. Now I'm standing in front of those doors waiting. When the doors opened, it wasn't the bailiff. It was the DA. He goes, Billy, I can't explain it to you. I don't know what to say to you, but he just took the plea deal. Come on in. It's over. You don't have to testify. And the emotions, the tears that came, I mean, God is just so good. I mean, I know he would have gave me the strength, but he said, Billy, I'm going to spare you from this one. So I went in a courtroom. The judge thanked the jurors for their time, but he took a plea deal, 20 to life. This was from 2009. So 20 to life, no chance of parole. So that's where he is now. He is in prison, awaiting his 20 years. And the Lord blessed me. I didn't have to testify.
Right. And well, you're speaking to the thing that, people in law enforcement, fire sometimes comes into play. And it's like, if it wasn't enough that we have to live with the aftermath of the incident, we also have to live with the legal proceedings, which can drag on for months or years, and we're still part of that.
Yes.
So it just amplifies the whole process.
Yeah.
LT, talk about some of the ways you were able to kind of, pull yourself out, heal, move forward, kind of find purpose and meaning in your life after something like this. What worked?
The trial was 15 months long, but my healing and recovery was 12. So October 1st, 2009 was the night tour that I went. And I went back. My first day back to work was October 1st of 2010. 1 year to the day was my first round back. And there was a lot involved. The physical process was a lot. I had wonderful doctors, wonderful physical therapists. These physical therapists were phenomenal. They never worked with firemen before, so they were taking backpacks, putting weights in them to simulate an air pack. I mean, they did so many phenomenal things for me to get me physically ready. The men on the job working with me, talking with me to get me, mentally ready. But when the tones go off, all that discussion is out, and now it's me and my feelings. And I didn't know how that was going to happen. So there was a lot of talking with the guys, talking with my wife. I mean, again, my wife, I basically asked permission for me to go back to work because it didn't just affect us. It affected everybody on the job. It affected people we did mutuals with, and it affected my wife. And how is she going to take me wanting to go back to work? But again, her foundation, which is Christ, was if God's going to heal you to get back to work, who am I to stand in the way? So again, she was on board with it. So I had her encouragement. And then my prayer was just, again, to paint this picture, was I did what I could do. And now, Lord, you're just going to have to take your healing hand and put it on my head. And every time those tones went off for the next 12 years, that picture is God putting his hand over my mind. Because the last time I went to work, things went bad. And now when those tones go off, I needed to, realize that things don't always go bad. Sometimes they can end good. And that was the Lord putting his hand, his Holy Spirit on my head. So every time those tones went off, again, it was a rush of emotion.
Mhm.
But again, the brotherhood, going to work, going on the call, coming back from the call, going on the call, coming back from the call, having them talk with me, sitting down. I mean, it was huge. So Philippians 4:7, the peace of God that transcends all understanding will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. That's what I stood on. You know, and growing up, I had a mother that would just pick verses. She would stand on them. And that's what I did. I stood on this verse and I was like, Lord, this is something I can't do on my own. So please, I need you to protect my mind. And he used people, he used his Holy Spirit, and he used his word to protect me. So that's, you know, and I did another 12 years after that. So when I realized that was in 2009, it happened. 2010, I went back to work. I was blessed and able to be promoted in 2012. Mm-hmm. After I was promoted in 2012, my cousin was getting on the job in 2013. So I asked if there was an opportunity for me to go teach in the academy because I wanted to teach my cousin, you know, selfishly, let me teach my cousin. I fell in love with instructing. And then from that moment on, I felt God's calling in my life that if people poured into your life, you need to pour into somebody else's life. And that's what I did since then. And I've been doing it till today. I love giving something that somebody taught me, taking that plus my experience and giving it to somebody else. And that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's a great thing. It's a great way to kind of carry over into what we call retirement, but you know, after leaving the job, like still have that connection and purpose with the fire service. So that's a beautiful thing. So I'm wondering, because as first responders, we tend to, you know, we look at a lot of calls we do and always think we could do something, we could have done more, we could do something different. You know, we could have done something different. Yeah. Does that haunt you in any way? Like when you think about this incident?
Absolutely. I mean, there isn't a day that goes by that, you know, when we went up those stairs, it was a primary search. Mm-hmm. A primary is supposed to be quick, right? Because there was no heat, because there was no smoke, I was just simply looking for bodies. Now, if there's heat, if there's smoke, somebody might hide. Maybe you check under a bed, maybe you check a closet, right? Because somebody knows something's wrong. In my mind, if somebody was up there, why would they think anything's wrong? There's no smoke up here. It's 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock at night. They go to sleep. They would be laying in bed. I never realized where that closet was. Had I known where that closet was and I crawled into the closet, maybe, I don't know, I would have realized 2 feet away is the door that leads me to exposure 1. Maybe I could have went out that door, but I never knew that closet was there because I looked in a room and I simply looked for bodies. And we'll talk about equipment later on. So yeah, do things haunt me? Yeah. I mean, you know, you're always going to say, what if I found that closet? You know, what if we made it through that door and shut it behind us? I mean, that's what all those tears came through. And that's when the men being around me, you know, eventually the healing process, you know, you kind of get over it. I don't know if I'll ever get over the fact of what if, but
let's take that next step. Because I know you're doing several things, or you have done things in the past that help to transform the tragedy into something positive. Yes. Talk about your involvement with initiatives in terms of new equipment, maybe training, Mayday procedures at Yonkers Fire.
Yeah. So at the time, we had a bailout kit. It was 50 foot of rope in our pocket with basically a glorified carabiner, if you will, small carabiner. The logic at the time was you find something substantial, you wrap it, you clip the carabiner on it, and then we have a pompier hook that all of our jumpers have on them. It's a big carabiner. You take that rope after you tie it off, you wrap it, and then you go out the window. In theory, phenomenal. If you would have, up to that incident, if you would have asked me, Billy, does this work? I would have said, yeah. I could have proven to you. I could have wrapped something, did my wraps, went to a window, and utilized it. I could have physically shown you. But what we don't know, because it's used in training only, is that when the time comes and things go wrong, 1, you're not leaving the window. Once you find that window and you can't see, you're not leaving that window to go find something substantial because you have an egress point. So I wasn't leaving the window. There was nothing to tie off to, and there's no time to tie off. My head was burning, and I just needed to exit the structure any way possible, which was a window 3 stories up, and I chose to jump. That's what happened. So we realized that there has to be something better. Turns out that there There's a lot. New York City had something 5 years prior. So we kind of utilized what they had, and then we conformed it to Yonkers, right? So we have a CMC escape artist with a Crosby hook, 50-foot of rope in our pocket. The difference now, though, is you don't have to leave a windowsill. That hook attaches to the windowsill, and you're going out head first the way your body wants you to go out anyway. So my body's going to tell me to go out head first. And now this equipment we have will clip on the windowsill, and you go out head first the way your body's telling you to anyway. So this is something that we implemented. This is something that I was big in the teaching of it. It became my baby. But I had guys before me. It wasn't my idea. I had men before me that saw this equipment, taught me how to use this equipment, and then I started using this equipment so I could teach this equipment. And basically, our bailout system now, you train on it minimum, annually once a year. But we have training days built into our training program, and you can train on this. And the other thing that I will say is, and it's not me that implemented this, but this was back in 2009. And in 2009, hoods were on the scene, but they weren't part of your PPE. It wasn't something that was issued if something we didn't train on. So I had a hood that day. I had it on and wrapped around my neck. I never pulled it over my head. It wasn't something that I trained on. It wasn't something I did. Now, 2025, it's routine. It's part of your PPE. When you get issued this in the academy, you're trained on putting it on. So in Yonkers, for example, we do something called a 2-minute drill. You have to get all your PPE on plus your pack in air within 2 minutes. That hood is over you. There's no exposed skin, zero. So if that could buy you that 1 minute, 10 seconds that puts you in that closet and you're not burning, and you can come out and take that second to say, wait, where's that door? Because you're not burning yet. I mean, that's huge. That's everything. So now we have the hoods that are implemented. This bailout system that is part of your PPE. It's given you in the academy. You're trained on in the academy. So it's part of your bunker gear as long as the hood too, as well as the hood.
Right. Now hoods have another, role, and that's protecting skin from the carcinogens and toxic exposure. So it's kind of gone another step beyond.
Yes, huge.
So talk about what you're up to now in terms of, how are you impacting the fire service? How do you take this incredible experience and journey through, healing from it and bring that to the next generation of firefighters?
Yeah. So when I retired, I had the opportunity. I was still in New York at the time. I live in Florida now. So at the time I was working for the Westchester County Fire Academy. So I was blessed that when I transitioned out of Yonkers, right, I didn't lose touch. I was still teaching in Westchester. And again, you mentioned Clay County last week, seeing these little kids, these baby faces, it's crazy. But so I was able to still teach the new generation coming up there. About a year and a half ago, I moved to Florida. I made some connections through Jacksonville, and I'm still in the process of connecting dots and being able to work down here in Jacksonville through the college to teach that next generation, here in Florida. It's amazing that the brotherhood and the fire service, are there little differences? Yeah, you move to Florida, they don't have basements, right, in Florida. So like our technique's different everywhere you go. The techniques are different, but fire is still fire, water is still water, and the brotherhood is the brotherhood. And when I moved down here and started making my connections, I mean, they took me in as if I were one of their own. They started showing me what I have to do to get certified here in Florida. And I'm going to take what experience I learned in New York, bring it here to Florida, and teach the next generation down here in the South.
That's great. Yeah, it's like cross-pollination too. Like,
there
are some subtle differences, but like you said, I think when I heard you that the rescue, what's a rescue in New York is not a rescue in Florida. Rescue in Florida tends to be an ambulance.
An ambulance, yes, the heavy rescue, yes.
So, all right. Well, we covered a lot. Is there anything else you wanted to share in terms of this whole story and where it got you to today?
Well, just the importance of training, right? So, we take, whether it's a hood, whether it's a bailout system, whether it's the irons, just training has to become second nature, because what's going to happen is when you get jammed up and you don't have time to think, it just needs to become second nature. The example I use all the time is driving a stick shift in a car. When you're first learning, There's so much that goes through your mind, right? God forbid you get stuck on a hill and you roll backwards, right? There's a lot that goes on. Once you learn how to drive that stick shift, you can have a conversation with somebody in a passenger seat and you're driving like nothing's going on. And that's how training needs to be. When you have a tool in your hand, you shouldn't think how it works. You just automatically know how it works. So for training, I would just teach the new guys, right? Training never stops. I did 25 years on the job. I'm out almost 3 now, and I'm still learning. So that I can, teach the new guys. And then the other thing is this brotherhood. One thing I will say, sometimes we think of the brotherhood only when something bad happens and how we come together, but the brotherhood is good times and bad times. There's guys I met on this job and they're my lifelong friends. They're my best friends today. So you take the good with the bad. You're in people's wedding parties. You're growing up with them having kids and you having kids and kids playing together. So, I mean, the brotherhood is not just in a negative. There's a positive, side to the brotherhood. But again, the brotherhood of being there for each other, I think is important. And again, I'll end it with, my faith in Jesus Christ and knowing that he has my life in his hands and being married to a woman that I love that has the same foundation, knowing that if I don't make it home for whatever reason, she has the Lord also. So my faith in Jesus Christ and the brotherhood and the training.
As you were speaking, I was reflecting on that, the brotherhood in the fire service, the brotherhood and the sisterhood.
Yes. It
really represents the best in humanity.
Yep.
When we show up, we really show up, and it's something that it's awe-inspiring to see, to be the recipient of, like you have been, I have been, when these are just people that are there for someone else selflessly and like we are for the public. It feels, humbling to be part of that. And I feel blessed, and I'm sure you do too, to have done that job and to still be connected with it.
Yes.
Well, Billy, thank you so much for being willing to come speak about this and sharing the story. I have no doubt it's going to impact people. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep training the new generations and telling your story, because it's super important. So appreciate you.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Thank you for this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Join us next time to hear more of the game changers who are shaping our profession. You can check out our website, podpage.com/igniting. Make sure you like and follow Firefighter Nation on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go to their website, firefighternation.com. Till the next time, stay safe, stay connected, keep igniting the shift within.
God bless.
There are 2 things firefighters dislike: the way things are, and change.
Sometimes traditional ways clash with the need for change.
That's where we come in.
Slicing through the noise with insights that matter.
Welcome to Igniting the Shift Within.
Your launch pad to revolutionize the way you think and work and lead.